Hi, I'm Antonia. I'm an assistant clinical psychologist and I work for the Community Wellbeing Service within the Department of Health and Social Care. This is a video about depression. Depression is a common mental health condition that can affect the way we think and feel and the things that we do. The effects and experience of depression can range from mild to severe. While most people feel sad or disheartened from time to time, depression may have a more significant impact on your life. Symptoms of depression may include feelings such as despair, sadness, hopelessness, and sometimes anxiety and anger. Your behaviour may change, such as using substances like alcohol to try to cope, avoiding your friends and family, and neglecting yourself and your home environment. At the height of the first outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic here on the island, many of us found ourselves trying to navigate life in circumstances different to those in which we would usually find ourselves living. At work, at home, and regarding our choices and freedoms. The increased pressures and uncertainty surrounding COVID-19 may have led to changes in the way that you felt and thought about yourself, other people, the world, and the future. It might be that you found you didn't want to talk to your family and friends about what you were going through and were struggling to cope with emotions that you wouldn't usually experience as regularly, such as guilt and fear, and perhaps an increased sense of responsibility to keep yourself and others safe. Many of these changes and the impact of having to cope and adapt may have remained. It may be that pre-existing difficulties or situations were worsened by the worry and circumstances of lockdown, and trying to manage already difficult situations you were living with became even more difficult. A study in the UK into the impact of COVID-19 and lockdown on mental health by University College London found that levels of depression remained the highest among young people, people with lower household income, people with a diagnosed mental illness, people living with children, and people living in urban areas. We're more fortunate here on the island than our friends and family in the UK in many ways, but challenges remain, and each of us can notice an impact that the pandemic has had and continues to have on our lives. There may be fresh challenges to face now that things have changed again. The new normal may feel strikingly similar in many ways to life before the COVID-19 pandemic, but with uncomfortable differences that affect the way that we feel. Many of us continue to be restricted from in-person access to our friends and family in the UK and further afield. Social isolation is a key vulnerability factor for depression, so if your support network is not based solely here on the island, you may be feeling lonely, isolated, and even more worried, especially as travel continues to be largely impractical or unsafe for many people. For many Manx residents, travel away, whether for work or leisure or to visit loved ones, is a valued part of island life, and the difficulties of being able to do so at the present time or worry about the stigmatisation and judgment from others associated with travel may leave you feeling trapped or stagnant. Other repercussions of the pandemic here on island include the impact on individual finances, the impact on our economy and government services, and, for many, the return to previous routines themselves, such as going back to work or school or having to socialise once again with people that you aren't really used to seeing anymore. There is ongoing uncertainty and stress seen daily in the media in the world beyond our borders, and while we can all expect to have noticed the emotional effects of this year, for some of us it may be continuing in the form of depression. Though everyone's experience of depression is unique, there may be some simple techniques we can use to help ourselves cope and thrive in difficult times. Prioritise your sleep. While it's a popular misconception that we need 8 hours of sleep to function, it's certainly true that we do consistently need a good level of sleep to stay physically and mentally well. Give yourself enough time and opportunity to sleep and practice good sleep hygiene. Note that you may even need a little more sleep than usual if your brain is trying to process and make sense of difficult things you've experienced. Similarly, prioritise adequate nutrition. This is likely advice that you have heard over and over again, but take some time to reflect on whether you are giving yourself the best set of circumstances to stay well. Protein, fruits, vegetables, and slow-release whole-grain carbohydrates are proven to be more conducive to positive well-being than relying on sugar and caffeine for nutrition. Reflect on the thoughts you're having and your self-talk. It may be helpful to open up about them to someone you trust and explore whether they are helpful and rational or perhaps unhelpful and contributing to low mood. It's not unusual for this to happen at times of stress, and acknowledging and challenging our automatic assumptions can be really effective. Engage in some simple, pleasant activities and make time to do so. What you enjoy will be unique to you, but it's likely that spending time doing things that you get a sense of pleasure and achievement from will make you feel more positive. Though it's tempting when you feel depressed to hide away from the world and avoid the things you enjoy, even a little bit of time may make you feel a little bit better if you do those things. Stay connected. As far as possible and appropriate, stay in touch with your support network. This might be spiritual or community groups, family and friends, or people associated with your hobbies and interests. With the extensive availability of social media, it is easier than ever to stay in touch, but try speaking with people on the phone or via video, as well as through messages and watching what people post online. It's likely that hearing someone's voice may give you a better insight into their life and help you feel more connected to them, and they to you. There might even be people that you can make connections with who are new in your life, or old friends that you can get back in touch with. You may find it helpful to research your own advice into staying well and coping with symptoms of depression. Some useful resources include Mind, the mental health charity, Mood Juice at mj.scott.nhs, and getselfhelp.co.uk. You might be able to find self-help resources on these sites. It may be helpful for you to familiarise yourself with some of the signposting options that are available if you think your mood has been affected by the current circumstances. Firstly, consider if the place where you work, volunteer or learn has a welfare or support service where you can access emotional support. A person's general practitioner tends to be the best first point of contact for their physical and mental health. This doesn't necessarily mean that the person reaching out for help will have to start taking medication, but it may be an appropriate option that the GP can advise on. Similarly, they may be the best placed person to consider an onwards referral for more specialist services, just as with physical health conditions. At the Community Wellbeing Service, we consider referrals from people who may be experiencing common mental health conditions such as depression. Following assessment, we may provide brief therapeutic interventions for mild, moderate, and moderately severe symptoms of common mental health conditions. You can complete a self-referral online via our government webpage. In many cases, third sector organisations may be the best placed people to help. There are a number of excellent services on the island, which include Cruise Bereavement Care Isle of Man for grief and coping with loss on 668191, Motivate Addiction Services for addictive behaviours including alcohol concerns on 627656, and the Samaritans for emotional support on 116123. In the event of mental health crisis, contact the Crisis Response and Home Treatment Team on 642860, and in an emergency, always call 999. Thank you, take care and stay safe.